Greetings and welcome back to the XRP Insider channel. As usual, this is another video regarding XRP. I hope everyone is having a nice day today, wherever they may be in the world. Today, we will discuss XRP. I must begin with this industry's demand for a UK stablecoin strategy, which builds on the Chancellor's recent speeches about reform and her stated commitment to promoting blockchain tokenized securities and stablecoins. The letter, Seizing the Stablecoin Advantage, a national strategy for the UK, outlines the UK's potential to position stablecoins as a key component of digital financial infrastructure and to seize the technological, strategic, and economic advantages of this quickly developing market, thereby enhancing the UK's competitiveness in the global financial services industry. Support the government's ambitious goal of economic expansion. Therefore, would they abandon a central bank digital currency if stablecoin restrictions are implemented in the UK? Will they move more in the direction of a stablecoin similar to what we have in the US? You see, the only distinction between a stablecoin and a digital currency issued by a central bank is who issues it. In the US, a digital currency issued by the Fed is referred to as a central bank digital currency. If it is issued by Ripple, it is referred to as a stablecoin. That's the main difference, but I'm interested to see what the UK does next. Additionally, this makes it possible for Ripple to introduce a stablecoin in the UK. Shattering Title Trust's application for the Defiance Leverage Long Plus Income XRP ETF was just approved by the SEC. An XRP ETF is being filed one after the other. You see, BlackRock will undoubtedly profit from this, and by 2032 to 2034, $96 trillion in wealth will have been produced. In all of human history, this is the biggest generational wealth event. Listen to Raoul here and take a chance.
By my work, we're a $4 trillion economy today in crypto. If we extrapolate trend rate of growth and assume the network growth slows over time, I think we get to 100 trillion by 2032, 2034. 100 trillion. That means there's 96 trillion of wealth that's going to get created. So halve me, and I say this all the time, for being an utter moron. $46 trillion of wealth is about to be created. It's the largest wealth generation event in all human history. It's fractionalizable to a rice worker in the Philippines as it is to somebody in Fifth Avenue. It is an unbelievable opportunity. And to go back to it, you're front running the institutions and you get to do all of this.
Listen, I could not agree with you more. And, when it comes to macro financial analysis, you are the king. And I would never question your work on this one.
You can call me a moron. You have many times.
But here's the thing. I've actually never called you a moron, right? And I never will call you a moron. But what I will say, and I think this is super important, is this is really a misunderstood evolution. It will continue to be for quite some time. But this is bigger than social. This is bigger than mobile.
It's the internet being redone for all of us to participate.
The internet is absorbing value and the movement of value in a way that is never had before. And that is the most simplistic way to look at it. And, if journalists want to fixate on Fartcoin, that's fine. It's just a small segment of it. You're missing what stable coins are really doing. You're missing what Bitcoin's real purpose is. You're missing what these DeFi protocols are actually delivering on. And that's fine. Focus on Fartcoin. It does not matter to me, right? All I could continue to do with the team at MoonPay is build against the trend line that you and I are talking against. And that's why I'm absolutely so incredibly bullish and excited over this next year. And so it's such a hard question to ask me because I wake up every day and I'm so pumped to just go to work and build.
If $100 trillion is going to be invested in this area, it will happen before 2032 or 2034, Recall that by 2030, the World Economic Forum wants $867 trillion in tokenized assets. They always have to try to smuggle Bitcoin in as having some kind of use case. And every year, we're going to see more and more value in this arena. Additionally, Bitcoin will be used across all of these other networks and will eventually become a tokenized asset. BlackRock will probably launch a front-runner strategy, aiming to begin with the Bitcoin ETFs. At some time, they will tokenize them all, but when you consider how large this is, it surpasses social media, mobile devices, and the internet in size. I can't emphasize enough that this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Everyone moans and bitches, It's a red day today. How come XRP isn't moving? The future is in your hands. Everything I'm discussing, everything we require for tokenization, custody, and cross-border payments is being built out in the background. Domestic payments, micropayments. Many individuals will be shaken out before we ever reach the high price points on XRP, since this is all being developed while everyone else is so focused on the price today. This includes moving value from one person to another and from one country to another. They are discussing a $68 million transfer that involved 23 million XRP because South Korean investors are buying and transferring XRP. Since the price has dropped to $3, they claim that this was shifted to buy the dip maybe on XRP. However, when will that purchase be made? As the $68 million might undoubtedly affect the price of XRP, or is this all conjecture? Since everyone witnesses these transfers, they immediately have a sense of what's going on in the background, even though they don't actually know where they're coming from or going. This may be used, and we're not really sure about ODL, so what? Why don't we wait and observe what happens with the price of XRP over the next several days rather than making any assumptions about this? And when they discover it, they have to confine some of these wackos in a padded orange room. Men and women of all ages will cry. It was always XRP, never Bitcoin. Listen to this out.
I think it's important also to note that BlackRock is a good one to look at. Is they have the Bitcoin ETF and the Ethereum ETF, and that you could see that the story of Bitcoin is easy. It's a powerful story. There's no story for Ethereum. What is it? Right. Why? Like, there's no story for any of the other currencies, the coins out there. BlackRock actually just recently said they're not going to offer a Solana or one of the other coins. I don't know. But they're not going to be, or XRP. They're not going to be offering, ETFs for any of those. They're going to stick with, they're sticking with a Bitcoin one, especially. Even Coinbase, right? Like, so they keep on putting out these amazing Bitcoin commercials. They never do a commercial about XRP or any of the other tokens that they actually push if you sign up for them. Like, it's like pushing the other tokens because the exchanges make money on that, right? But the story, the narrative is only in Bitcoin. So that's the only story that matters.
The mainstream tries to divert everyone's attention while the disturbance takes place behind the scenes, which is why it is that way. When BlackRock files for that position, I'll let you know. XRP ETF. Since they don't realize that it's not Bitcoin, many of these Bitcoin maxis will be sobbing themselves to sleep. They simply don't understand that Bitcoin isn't the future yet. And the only reason for this is that they made money with it, so that's all they see. They are unable to look past that. Furthermore, why in the world would a cryptocurrency be based on a narrative? Why is a backstory necessary?
According to Michael Saylor, it was brought down by extraterrestrial beings and is powered by cosmic energy. Like all other cryptocurrencies, it is a cryptocurrency.
Over time, Bitcoin was isolated from the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. Since Bitcoin isn't particularly unique, that didn't make it stronger. On the contrary, it made it weaker. Under the weight of its own history, SWIFT will fail. It's an outdated, flawed system that will never be fully rectified. Updates are useless. Listen to what Cardano's Charles Hoskinson has to say.
Ultimately, the interoperability is going to have to be there, and I think SWIFT is going to die. And these other large systems are going to die. They just can't sustain themselves. There's too many downsides. There's too much legacy complexity. And at the end of the day, there's an enormous amount of trust and lack of consumer protection. If nobody believes me and the bankers are like, oh, well, then go to your bank and try to send a wire. You notice how many times they try to talk you out of sending a wire and how many disclosure forms you have to file. Well, there's wire fraud. Have you checked your account number?
Terrible system.
Exactly. So let me get this straight. I can use like multi-sig and ledger devices and all these things to have tons of security, and it's super easy for any consumer to do that. But you could be a multi-billion-dollar financial institution, and you have to put in all these bells and whistles, and even still, you have some guy call you after you've sent a wire saying, "Did you really send that wire? I need to know everything about the transaction to verify that's a wire, or else we're going to put a freeze on it." That's just a broken system, and it can't survive when its competitor is tap your phone with trusted hardware in your Google phone or your iPhone, and you just use your fingerprint. We know it's you.
SWIFT has no future because of this. I have been repeating this for a while now. None of their customers are satisfied. Consider sending $1 million from the United States to the European Union. It would take 3 days for the money to arrive, and you would be hoping that it would arrive at the other end during that time. Imagine the stress that must be experienced by those who must perform such tasks daily. With RippleNet's use of XRP, you now have an alternative that allows you to complete the transaction while still speaking with the other person on the phone. That's the distinction. Because of this, you are in control of the future, and SWIFT will ultimately become obsolete. Before Dom Cork and Phil Cork appeared, the XRP community was constantly fed negativity by a group of malcontent builders who complained about what they mistakenly believed to be issues with the development of the XRP ledger. Listen to this, which discusses the XRP ledger's strength.
Blockchains like Ethereum came out and really started to get traction. A lot of people said, hey, the XRP ledger is falling behind. Like, why does it still not have smart contracts? But David and the rest of the team really stuck to their guns, and they're like, no, this is the way that it needs to be built. And especially maybe even if we go back maybe 2 years or so, a lot of people are like, oh, that was the wrong decision because it meant that fewer developers were coming. But I think flash forward a couple of years, what we're realizing today is that actually, if you look at all of the hacks that have happened in other ecosystems that have smart contracts, and these hacks don't just happen like once a year, they're happening multiple times every month, like really, really big ones. That is where actually I think that the ecosystem has done really, really well to say, actually, we're going to have a couple of fixed functions. And when you use these are battle tested, they're hardened, they're very, very well audited, and they're pretty much rock solid. So I think that that is very, very different to other ecosystems. And I think that a lot of the institutions as well are paying attention to that, because I am a developer myself. I'm an engineer. I've built on the XRP ledger. I've built and deployed onto mainnet. And it is a completely different experience. It is like, as long as you have got the stuff set up correctly, it just works. It just works really, really well. And obviously Dom could talk a bit about the community as well around that. But I think from my perspective, it just means that as an institution, you can bring on board your team, bring on board your engineering team without them having to line like a totally new stack.
Institutions will select the XRP ledger over alternative networks for this reason.
1C XRP ledger over XRP.
For this reason, smart contracts were absent from the XRP ledger for a long time. David Schwartz even predicted that this would result in slower and more costly cross-border payments. Years ago, they had this planned out, but now in 2025, project after project is being onboarded to the XRP ledger. Why? Due to its safety and battle-tested nature. A cryptocurrency expert explains why Ripple's XRP didn't fall years ago, pointing to the XRP Army's support in purchasing XRP. He claims that Ripple would not have been able to survive if it hadn't sold XRP to all of us. And I agree with that. However, we weren't really meant to be Ripple's customers in the first place. So it's fortunate that we did, as it allowed us to purchase a cryptocurrency that could help us achieve financial independence. No matter how you look at it, nothing will ever provide you with the return on investment that XRP will in this particular run. I can already tell you that it will be the biggest surprise of the entire season. Take a look at all those exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that illustrate our future direction. This is from IBM, and I wanted to bring it up. I'm a major UFC fan, as many of you are aware, and thus IBM and the UFC were utilizing AI to scale content development for more than 700 million people worldwide. Discover how the IBM Watson X-powered UFC Insights engine is revolutionizing their content workflow, empowering staff, and producing incredible outcomes. Thoughtful. I think this is a great concept. I would adore it if UFC joined the XRP ledger. It would be fantastic to see the UFC collaborate with Ripple. They are also working with VeChain, but I appreciate what they're doing with IBM. Excited. If that ever occurs, I can assure you that it will be the best thing ever. As I always mentioned, IBM is a part of the new financial system that they have been working with Ripple to develop in the background. We will soon witness the finished result, the new financial system, which will be a few cryptocurrencies operating side by side. We have been working with Stellar, Hedera, and other companies. Retail investors are the only ones engaged in conflict. Your coin is inferior to mine. Blah, blah, blah. You are aware that Brad and Charles from Cardano are working together behind the scenes. Lehman Baird is collaborating with Ripple and Cardano. Since Swift is on borrowed time and Ripple is the only thing that will save Link in the future, these networks are joining forces and working together to construct all that is required to replace Swift. But until it all comes together, have patience, maintain your optimism, and let's make money together. That being said, I will now conclude this video. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks to everybody. In the next one, I'll see you. Enjoy your evening.